That's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine. Hello everybody. Welcome back to Dune, and remember to walk with rhythm. So today, we have the finale to the Dune prequel, Schools of Dune, with the final book, again written by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, being Navigators of Dune. So the overarching plot of this entire trilogy has been the main conflict between Joseph Vanport, who is control of most of the space flight technology and getting to point A to point B and dealing with spice and distributing that and all that. He's a big part of that. He also has a burning hatred for Manfred Toronto, a man who is the head leader of the Butlerians right now, due to reasons addressed in the previous two books, and Manfred Toronto wants to get rid of any and all technology because it is sinful and the mind of a man is holy. So that conflict is becoming resolved, and it gets resolved in this book. I didn't mention Vorian Atreides really a lot in the last book review that I talked about, but of course his story gets concluded here. Does he die? Does he continue to live on? Read the book to find out. Erasmus' story as well, at least the story we've been building upon for 6 books now, concludes here. Does it continue? Will it continue? Is it completely over? Will it begin again in a way unexpected? Who knows? You have to read the future of the franchise to find out any of these answers. But Erasmus is probably the shining highlight, the shining beacon of this entire prequel series. I mean, I haven't even gotten to the stuff taking place during the actual time period of the Dune universe yet, but everything that's been in the past, this 10,000 years in the past gap that we've had, has been an excellent, fun adventure, with Erasmus specifically being one of my absolute favorite parts of all of these books. And I'm sad that moving forward that we will no longer have him. However, on the plus side, because of course the next book we're going to read chronologically is 10,000 years in the future, but on the plus side as we move forward, I shall get into familiar characters that I remember, like Leto Atreides and Vladimir Harkonnen and all those fun stuff. So we're diving into that next time we talk about Dune, which probably won't be for a bit due to Star Wars, but I love Erasmus. Erasmus is my absolute favorite character that Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson have inserted into the Dune universe. He is the greatest addition that they've added to it. Along with Vorian Atreides, I absolutely love his character. I think Vorian Atreides is different enough from Leto and Paul to be his own. And I mean, I haven't read the book with Paul's kid, but I'm fairly certain that Vorian's different. And I enjoy him for it. I have to say, throughout all of these books, the weakest part of it has been the sisterhood stuff to me. I don't have too much to say about it. I mean, there's a lot going on, but it didn't grab me. Maybe it'll grab some of you people. I will say by the end of this trilogy, we still don't have a definitive beginning to the Bene Gesserit. But in a sense, I think I kind of prefer that. We get the origins of the Mentats. We get the origins of the Navigators. And at the end of this book, we do have the formation of the Spacing Guild, which is something we'll see in the original series. But the sisterhood's still just the sisterhood. They don't call themselves the Bene Gesserit. So that means somewhere along the 10,000 years that we don't get to see, they changed into that. And while I'm glad that I kind of have an explanation now for the Navigators and the Mentats, because the Bene Gesserit is so integral to the original series, I'm kind of happy that we don't have a full explanation of the origins of all that. We get early versions of it, but we don't get a definitive, oh, now we shall call ourselves the Bene Gesserit and have all the exact tenets and creeds and stuff that they're doing here. We see the, early embryos of all that, but the final conclusion, all that, I guess we just don't get to see. Because by the time we get to the next series, it's still like 20 to 30 years before the original novel, but it's still, in that time frame. So the Bene Gesserit already exists. So that'll be interesting. Um, this book is weaker, I'll say, than the previous two books, I feel. We do get a lot of action in this book due to the fact that for the past two books, tensions have been rising and it just pours forth here. Having the Butlerians versus the people that want to keep technology around, but in the end, the Butlerians kind of win. But Roderick keeps them all in control. We get introduced to a new character in this book, Willem Atreides. And we kind of see the beginnings of how things are set up in the original Dune books because, Vorian wants Willem to have a good life and everything, tells him to go to the Imperial Court, that because Vorian's name holds weight, at least in this time period, after everything he's done, they'll feel obligated to show him a place. And the Imperial Court has kind of become this fluff. It means nothing. It's a place for rich people to gossip and to just suckle at the teat of the Emperor without ever having to actually do any real work. And the Emperor's not having that anymore, not by the end of this book. And so who shows initiative? Who shows promise to actually help get things done and help the Imperium? Well, one of the first ones who steps up to the plate, Willem Atreides, proving to the Emperor that the Atreides are willing to do their due diligence. And the other one who also goes to do the same thing, Harkonnen, setting up the fact that for the next 10,000 years that the Atreides and the Harkonnens are going to become royal houses, they're not the emperor, but they are, very important houses within the political system that we see in the original Dune novel. So it sets that up to kind of where, okay, so for 10,000 years, all those generations, these people have continued to be important in the society. So by the time we get to the original Dune novel, and the prequel novels, that it makes sense that, we got Duke Leto and, Vladimir Harkonnen and the positions they have within the setting at that point in time. So it kind of begins that setup. We get an end to Manfred Toronto. We get an end to Joseph Vanport in a sense. And, it satisfies everything I kind of wanted to see for the most part. Like I said, I'm kind of disappointed with the sisterhood stuff. It wasn't bad, it was just the least interesting part. Like, every time we got back to that, I just didn't care as much. I do like that Vorian Atreides tries to atone for the sins that he caused, in hopes that by his death, the feud will end. But as we know by the original series, the feud between the Harkonnens and the Atreides never really stops. And so that continues, despite what Vorian Atreides tried to do. I like that we got to see the start, because, why does the Harkonnens have such hatred for the Atreides, How long has this feud been going? Well, because of the past 6 books we've read, we have an answer to that. We get to know where this feud initiated. We get to see the nuances of him actually Vorian actually trying to heal this. Vorian and Griffin could have been friends, but circumstances arise, and of course the original novel, and things don't work out. But it's the potential, the tragedy, and the fact that it didn't have to be the way it was in the original Dune novel. That makes that more interesting. And as I said, a lot of it is action, so I don't have too much to say. Everything ramps to a head and it ends. But Erasmus as a character is just so fascinating, because he starts out as be-end-all evil, just, not even really evil, amoral. Like, he just doesn't care about anything because he's a robot. But his kind of sick need, like Data from Star Trek, but to the extreme of, I want to understand humanity because I understand that humanity in some aspects is superior to machines. I want to implement the best of both and become superior, become something more. And so it's fascinating. And the whole arc he goes through all 6 of these books is just, I love it. I love him. He's so great. And I have a feeling no matter what happens when we get to the sequels to Frank Herbert's work, I'm going to be disappointed because even if I get half of what I want, the fact of the matter is, with how this book ends, it's not going to be the same person. But that's all I'll say there. Different time, different review. But yeah, do I recommend this trilogy? Absolutely. Do I think you should read this before reading the Butlerian Jihad one? No, no, do not. Like, if you're gonna get into this Schools of Dune series, just go ahead and read the Legends of Dune with the Butlerian Jihad, the Machine Crusade, and the Battle of Corn. Like, read that first because these 6 books are basically super connected. I mean, there's an 80-year gap after in this first Sisterhood of Dune, but it's still heavily connected to the previous trilogy. So I don't recommend reading this if you haven't read the one before. Now I know the next one we'll get into, you really don't need any of these books, but I'm just going in chronological order. But yeah. Oh, right. There was also a short story um, that was in the Tales of Dune book. Um, what was it called? What was it called? Oh my gosh, I took a note on it. I took a note on it, but I don't want to leave the thingy. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna leave it in the description, okay? There's a short story you would read before reading this final novel, okay? Okay, that's my bad, but it will be in the description, so you can check it out there. Or just at least see the title of it so you can read it. It was fine. I don't have too much to say about it. It wasn't incredible or anything. But yeah, man, I'm glad I read these. This is definitely not as interesting as I think the last trilogy was, but it's still really good. And I think it hits a bit closer to Dune, like the original book, than the previous trilogy did, with like having big machine battles and da da da. It felt very Star Wars for what it was. This felt a little bit less like that and more in tune with what it should be. I mean, there's still a lot of action here, but it's because tensions are rising between 2 factions and everything. And you know, one thing I am excited for though is I think as we head closer to the original Dune novel, we shall get more political, which is something I really did appreciate about Dune above other things. Like this is one of the things I love about the Star Wars prequels is how political it gets, and this is certainly more. I mean, there is a lot of politics here and divisions and stuff, but there's also a lot of action, and that's fair because of the time and setting. Um, but I kind of prefer the politics of the you get action in those books, but kind of the highlight is in like the original Dune novel is the battle through words, through minds. Like these 2 people don't like each other. They got different things that they're trying to accomplish, and yet they're saying one thing while they're talking, and that sort of thing is just like really fun to me. Um, but yeah, I absolutely recommend this series. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it is it written as well as Frank's work. No, but it is a lot of fun, and I do think it adds a lot to the universe, and I think it's worth your time. So, and guys, that's it for now. When next I see you, we'll be 10,000 years in the future, 30 years before the events of the original Dune novel, 30 or 20, something like that. And we'll be starting to see young Leto Atreides the First. And that'll be fun and interesting. I'm excited to see that. But until then, I got a bunch of Star Wars to get through. So, to all you who subscribe for Star Wars, I'm getting back to it. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you like these books, let me know in the comment section below. What did you think about them? Even if you hated them, let me know. And not a lot of people talk about these books, so I want to hear your thoughts. But if not, I hope I've gotten you interested in it. I try not to spoil anything here, but as we get closer to the Frank works and they get more philosophical and stuff, I'll probably have to have spoiler sections. But as it is, I try my best here. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time, make sure to walk with rhythm, or that worm is going to eat you whole. Bye-bye.